Hello again. Today we're going to dive into a specific value and really unpack it, break it down, however you want to put it. So, I did some research on what were the top values that organizations seek or that are a part of their core values. Like, what are the top 5, top 10? And I want to share with you the top 5, first of all, because I think they're significant and it is where we're going to start. And so, the top 5 values that an organization leans into or really wants to embody. And when I say they, I mean they want their people and the employees from the top down to embody these values. So what the top 5 are integrity, respect, collaboration, accountability, and innovation. And I'm going to stop there. Integrity, respect, collaboration, accountability, and innovation. And so we're going to start today with integrity and unpacking the idea of what integrity is and how does it look in practice. Like, how can we look at people and go, they are integrous? Or how can we look at ourselves and say with confidence, I have integrity? Now, when I was diving into this value, I've got to say it went a lot deeper than I thought it was going to go. And I think that's probably true of every value that is out there. Like, if you dig into it, if you start to unpack it and really think about the meaning behind the value, I think you're going to get to a really solid place, but also a place that has layers and layers of depth and meaning to people. And so I think it's important that we recognize that we talk about them. Number one, we're talking about something that is a noun. So it is real. There's something very concrete about it. You know, it's not just this kind of mystical idea that we're talking about. It's something that has like legs. We can go, that is it, all right? So you can identify it. But also, we know that when it comes to values, that without values in action, they're really not carried values at all. And so crossing that boundary, or crossing that line into what does this look like in action, that's really where we see the greatest impact. So integrity is often cited as the most common value for organizations. And I would probably say for people too. If you ask somebody, I don't know how many videos I've seen asking people, asking different leaders and organizations, what's most important to you, not just for the organization, but for in your own life. A lot of the times it really comes down to having integrity, being able to trust someone. So it cites itself with the ideas of honesty, ethical behavior, trustworthiness. Those are kind of all the arrows that point to this same idea, this same value of integrity. I'm going to look to Merriam-Webster dictionary here to just cite that noun definition for us as to what integrity is and how it is concretely defined. And it is this: integrity is a firm adherence to a code of especially moral or artistic values. The state of being where you are complete and especially undivided, like your singular focus. Like, you can look at somebody and go, they have integrity, they have a singular focus. So when I think about integrity, I think the first thing I think about is what integrity is not, okay? So what are the antonyms to this? Well, the things that impose on integrity are, and this is again going to get kind of deep here, the things that really come against the idea and the value of integrity are evil, immorality, wickedness, badness, degradation, sin, villainy, and the list goes on. You've probably heard it said that having integrity is when your inner life and your outer life are aligned. And so if my thoughts and my words and who I say I am and what I say I'm about, if you can look and listen to me and know my thoughts, and then you can look at my life and those things align, then that's integrity. And I would say, yes, that is integrity. But if we're looking at the value of integrity, that is an aspect of it, but that is certainly not the depth of it. And it's certainly not where the strength of the value of integrity is found. The strength is not just in having your thoughts and your actions align, because let's be honest, You can have some really hairy, unwanted thoughts. And if you put those thoughts into action, you might have integrity of thought and action, but you do not have what we value as integrity, which is that strong adherence to that morality and that code of conduct that we as humans know innately within us. And so somebody can have those inner thoughts and actions be aligned, but still be lacking in what that value is of integrity. So integrity is that deeper alignment to what is good and what is right, what is trustworthy, what is morally absolute. And so there's something very, very concrete. I don't know if you can hear it in all of this, to integrity. Like if somebody has integrity, they are strong. They have a sense of strength about them. Like not only is there an alignment, there's almost this strictness, this strict adherence to do what is right. So integrity, if we take it at face value, we should have this idea of perfection that we're thinking about. And that can be an issue. And here's why. Integrity, having integrity means that we are perfect, then we are way off from having what we would call the value of integrity really in work and in action in our life, because all of us are vastly imperfect in what we do. Unfortunately, we can want to have integrity, but then we, give us a couple days and we'll give into a temptation here or a temptation there and do what we don't want to do. And so that's just part of being human and being a woman, being a man in this world that we live in, okay? But integrity is that high impossible bar. And so when I think about that, I want you to think about this, because number one, as I said in the beginning, this is the most common value to organizations, to teams. This perfection thing, all right? This thing that is pretty much impossible to achieve, and yet it keeps us reaching. I think there's something really valuable and important for us to glean from this. Daniel Pink, an author, he wrote a book called Drive. So it's a leadership book, but it has a lot of research and study within it. If you haven't read it and you're a leader, I would encourage you to do it. But he talks about innately what drives us as humans. And a few of the things, one of the things is just having a sense of autonomy, but also another one is having a sense of purpose and basically having that like self-motivation to keep growing, to keep reaching for more. We want that. When we tap into that self-motivation to keep growing, to keep pressing in to something greater, man, it really does unlock some amazing motivation in us. And when I think about integrity, it's almost like this far off perfection thing that no matter how you look at it or consider it, when you think of the value of integrity, you can't help but go, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. And the truth is, we'll never be there because we're never going to reach this state of like perfection, right? And so what this word integrity does is it helps us tap into that motivation that's so deep within us that says that we want to be self-determined in growth and we want to keep reaching for greater levels of excellence. And that is exactly what the value of integrity does. If you want to embody and you want to reach for the value of integrity, you're never going to run out of rope. You're never going to come to a place where like, I've reached the mountaintop. That's it. I'm perfect. It's not going to happen. You're always going to have something to be reaching for. And then when we think about the idea of drive and Daniel Pink, what he presents as what motivates us as humans, then to have integrity as a value is so important. Because it can be that never-ending source of motivation to say, you know what, I achieved that thing or I met that goal. But if integrity is a value, you can achieve all the goals you want. You're still going to be able to come up with more. You're still going to have something else to overcome. You're still going to have something else to reach for. And I think that's where the value of the value of integrity is the strongest because it provides for us something that we can always be reaching for. Integrity, I think, is like a scrambled egg. All right, so it includes the shell, the egg white, the yolk, and you whip it all together, and let's say some habanero sauce gets in that. Is there still integrity to that egg? No, it's not, because it's not undivided. It is now contaminated, so to speak, even though I love me some hot sauce. Like, it is now contaminated by something else that is not the egg. And so when we think about integrity, it's like you can mix all this thing up and it's still an egg, but once it becomes contaminated by something else, then that's a place to work on. That's a place that you can focus your energy and say, hey, let's get better in that area. I hope that makes sense to you. So what hinders integrity? So when it comes to a team or an organization, I went through that list of antonyms, but I want to just look a little bit broader at what hinders a team from pursuing the value of integrity. And there's a couple, I picked out 4 major ones that really can hinder a team, a family, a couple, anybody from leaning in, desiring, and moving towards this value of integrity. The first thing that can really hinder us is bad company. So bad company can really corrupt good character, and good character is a mark of integrity. And so we have to watch the people that we let in our lives. There's an old saying I remember hearing when I was a teenager, which was, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Because who we hang out with, we become like. And even if you have this idea of being integrous, of being wholehearted in this certain direction, wherever you're going, like if you bring company that is against that or is speaking down on that, then it is going to affect the integrity, not only of your motivation, which I think is the first indicator, but it will affect the integrity of your efforts as well. So bad company. The second thing that can hinder integrity in teams, whether they be teams of 2 or teams of 2,000, is selfishness. When selfishness is present in a team and everyone's just thinking me, 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 there's going to be a lack of purpose and a lack of mindfulness as to what is good and what is right. And when, of course, when we veer from what is good and what is right, then we are going to be veering from the value of integrity. Another thing that can hinder integrity is intoxication from addiction. If somebody has an unhealthy addiction in their life, it is going to affect the group. You can often think that it's isolated. Maybe nobody knows about it, but eventually it does come out. When it comes to unhealthy addictions, eventually they do come out. And you can think it's not affecting anybody else, but the truth is it was hurting other people. And so those addictive type behaviors, unhealthy. So bad company, selfishness, intoxication from addiction of any kind. And then the fourth thing here is just a corrupt heart. We've all been in situations where we've been on teams or maybe even in friend groups where it's like somebody thinks it's isolated and it's not. It's not. Nothing, where no man is an island. And so those things can really hinder the value and pursuit of integrity on a team. Again, so bad company, selfishness, intoxication of addiction of any kind, of unhealthy addiction, and then corruptness of bitterness or anger that really is present in a person. And those things affect everyone around us more than we can possibly realize. And so these factors can lead to a lack of credibility. There's a lack of healthy relationships if those are present. And most of all, as pertaining to this, there is a lack of integrity. So how can we begin to support this idea of integrity and hold ourselves and to hold other people more accountable to this value of integrity, especially if it's a core value of yours personally or a core value of the team? Number one, we can check the company that we keep. Who has a voice in your life? Who are you giving your ear to? All right? Because it is going to affect what, not only that is coming in your life and your mind, but it's going to affect what's coming out. as well. Another thing that we can do is we can promote and celebrate and reward real acts of kindness, because those real acts of kindness have ripple effects. And not to be too ushy-gushy, but those acts of kindness show integrity. When somebody has integrity, they think of the moral good of not only themselves, but the people around them. And that results in kindness, and that results in acts of kindness that support and celebrate and uphold what is right and what is good. Another thing that we can do is we can really be advocates of clarity and communication. If we can speak clearly and kindly, then we're going to see more openness and integrity in the work that we do and the words that we say, that there be that alignment there, and not just an alignment of an idea and action, but an alignment and an adherence to what is good and what is right. Years ago, I think I experienced what is to me one of the greatest displays of integrity from somebody I know and a friend of mine. I'm not going to say her name, but I am going to tell her story. Years ago, she was in a situation where she was working with an organization and with a team who was trying to tell her, hey, everything's fine, don't worry about it, letting them, it's like the closet door was about to bust open with all the junk behind it. And she just had this sense, she's like, something isn't right. And I remember she talked to me because she was like, I'm uncomfortable. I don't know what to do about this situation. And, she was just an employee on the team. And here she had a choice to go have a really, really tough conversation with an executive or to let it go, right? So we all have that fight, flight, freeze moment. And did she want to have a confrontation? Absolutely not. Was it probably one of the most uncomfortable moments of her life? I would say so. And what she chose to do was to go in and to have the tough conversation and say, hey, I know something's not right. And in that meeting, they tried to tell her, no, everything's fine. No, don't mind this. Yeah, no, it's not a big deal. It's not what it looks like. It's hard to explain. All those things. And she said, no, I know there's more. She did her own kind of research and she was like, you know what? This is not right. And so she left the company. And I look back at that moment and that she told me all about this. And I just thought to myself, she might be one of the strongest people I know. And, on the surface, she is a pretty, soft-spoken person. She is very diligent in the work she does. She's a great worker. She's dedicated. She's a leader in her own right. But to have those conversations is so unnatural for most people. And she chose to do the hard thing. And I look back and there was other people I knew in the same situation who handled it vastly different. But she was one of the very, very few people who just showed such a resilient and steel conviction to have integrity and to stand by it. And I would say more often than not, that's how standing up for integrity can feel. It can feel like, oh my God, like all the fish are swimming this way. And in order to have integrity, I've got to swim the opposite direction. And it's really challenging. And it does a number on your mental health. It can do a number on your emotional health. It can do a number on your family. It's a tough decision. But how strong of a person is it who can make the decision to have integrity, especially when a lack of integrity is being rewarded? I mean, there are some sectors of work, some companies, some people who would go as far to celebrate someone who lied or who did the unintegrous thing. Why? Because it would mean more money. It would mean they could hang on to their power or whatever. So they would celebrate it, take that person out to dinner, give them a gift card or whatever. They would basically reward them for not having integrity. That is a very common thing, more common than we want to really probably admit. But to have integrity, if we're going to put it on the wall, let's say it like it is. It has depth. It has convictions of steel. It's doing what is morally right. Even when what's morally wrong is being rewarded, it's doing what's morally right. Even when it is difficult to swim against the grain and against the flow of traffic, If you're in a team or in an organization or in a sector of work that really challenges that, it's going to be difficult. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about integrity, but I do want to end with this. I want you to consider what popped up in your mind as I was talking about this value of integrity. Is it, what integrity is not? Is it what hinders integrity on teams? Or is it the depth of integrity and its meaning? Because I got to be honest, it is deeper than how most people talk about it. If we want to get real, it is quite a bit deeper. And so what popped up in your mind in what section? And whatever that was, I would encourage you to interview that thought or that feeling that kind of surfaced there. What was it that stood out to you? What is the worth of your own integrity? Like, to what extent will you stand by integrity? What extent are you willing to go to in your pursuit of integrity? And I think it's important we start with ourselves, first of all, of course, but because that's where change begins, as Michael Jackson put it. Take a look at yourself and make a change. But then, and only then, can we really rightfully look at other people and begin to even examine and hold them to a higher standard when we talk about our team, when we talk about our organization, or what have you. What does integrity mean to you? And how can you level up in your own pursuit of integrity? And as mentioned in the beginning, integrity is not a destination, because if it was, it'd be perfection, which we are pretty much incapable of. So what is integrity to you? What does it look like in your work, in your daily life? Like, what does integrity look like at your desk, in your role? And whatever that is, keep reaching for it. And especially if it's a core value of yours, or if it's a core value of your organization, I would just encourage you and challenge you to not take the light definition of integrity, but to take the deeper definition, what it is as a noun, and then take that and say, how does that look in action? Thank you so much for listening today. Can't wait to look at all the other values and what they mean and how we can see them outworked in our life. So thanks again. I hope to see you back here soon.